5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rome is burning. There's blood on the streets of many American cities, and we are beating this email horse to death. In our last committee meeting, I implored this committee to do something, to have a hearing, to respond to the deaths of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile. And when I said it, I said it's important that we act because I am very fearful that there will be bloodshed on the streets and that people will start to take it into their own hands. Unfortunately, I was right. And I'm going to ask again that we do something to start to convene a conversation on how we protect both police and citizens. Attorney General Lynch, let me ask you, how do you initiate pattern and practice investigations within your Civil Rights Division, and has Baton Rouge Police Department undergone a pattern and practice review?
Well, Congressman, thank you for raising this important issue. An investigation into whether or not a police department presents a pattern or practice of unconstitutional behavior can come about in a number of ways. There have been times when public officials have reached out to us to raise issues of concern. There have been times when community groups or leaders have reached out to us to raise issues of concern. There have been times when specific incidents or actions or cases have themselves raised issues of concern, and through the investigation of a particular case, we look at the police department and we may initiate an investigation. And there actually have been instances when police departments have come to us and requested a technical assistance or a review, and we have started on a practice of what is often called collaborative reform, and we have converted that into a pattern or practice investigation. That's Baltimore, actually.
No, have we done that in Baton Rouge?
In Baton Rouge, we are beginning the investigation. We, meaning the Department of Justice, are beginning the investigation into Mr. Sterling's death.
Right.
We will, of course, be cognizant of issues about the police department that may be raised there.
Well, let me just give you some background. September 2005, out-of-state troopers accused Baton Rouge police of harassing black people, illegal searches, and unnecessary violence in the days after Katrina. Troopers from New Mexico and Michigan, totaling 7, said that as a thank you, Baton Rouge police offered to let him beat a suspect to thank them for coming down to help, and that they were ordered to make life rough for New Orleans evacuees so that they would leave town. March 2007, Brian Townsend was arrested for a noise complaint, ended up being hit in the back by Officer Nathan Davis, causing him to defecate on himself. He was then kicked in the groin, which ended up rupturing his bladder. He was awarded $239,000. Officer Davis was fired. July 2008, John Saunders suffered a fractured skull, brain bleeding, and permanent brain damage after being beaten by Officer Lorenzo Coleman when shoulders moved towards him with fists clenched. He was awarded $350,000. 2011, Carlos Harris was ordered by Officer Christopher McGee to move a car, despite Harris telling the officer that he was too drunk to drive. Harris, while attempting to move the car, crashed into several police officers. McGee shot him dead, despite being told not to by another officer. Harris's family settled for $495,000. Corporal Robert Maruso used excessive force on Brett Perkle, 24, whose head was stomped on and whose teeth were knocked out during a drug raid in 2014. That settled for $25,000. Officer Michael Ellsbury resigned after being accused of sending a series of racist text messages, ultimately resigned, but they have not reviewed all of his cases and his arrest. And one officer can make a complete difference in the length of time and whether someone gets arrested. So I would just ask, formally ask, and I can do it in writing also, that we initiate a pattern and practice investigation on the Baton Rouge Police Department, and that is for police departments that may be violating people's civil rights. And I will not make an ultimate conclusion of whether they are or not. I will leave that to you all, but I would ask for the investigation. And, Mr. Chairman, I would ask to submit for the unanimous consent to submit for the record a op-ed written by Clint Smith that's titled, "Police Killings Get a Lot of Attention, So Should Police Beatings." With that,
Without objection, that will be made